All right, we're back with Mochi. Are your WODs killing your gains? You can probably get some results with doing random things. I see a lot of people who do make some PRs every so often. Also initially, for the first several weeks, sometimes months, usually weeks, you will get a lot of hormonal changes. Those hormonal changes will result in some muscle building, some fat loss. They will feel good. So that's another thing that type of very high intensity work, metabolic, metcon type stuff does do, is it does affect your hormones to make you feel good. But unfortunately, it doesn't always result in lasting progress. I think we've seen the shift over the last couple of years where now even the to not be named organization that was very into that style of work is now starting to say train things individually, your strength, your conditioning, separate them out, do things a little bit more sequential. And that's just because from a performance standpoint, that is the better route. What about fat loss? What about body composition? All right, so you can do that style, but the hard work doesn't always equal results. So if we look back at the fat loss hierarchy with Alan Cosgrove's model, the first thing you want is strength training. You can do supersets, trisets, etc. I recommend having 30 to 45 to 60 seconds of rest in between, which will allow you to have the output to make those worthwhile. You could do less, but you are going to limit your strength results, which maintain the muscle. You're going to be going more into cardio. Basically what happens is that if you do not take breaks, you have to have an intensity so low that it basically becomes aerobic. And obviously your heart rate's going high and you're breathing hard. So it may not be exactly aerobic. You might be burning a bunch of glycogen. That's more of a temporary solution to the problem. So if you find you're working really hard, you're sweating a lot, tends to be a lot of times the issue is that your body has gotten either A, used to that output, and it is either one or two, it is either compensating by having you eat more, or two, it is having you move less outside of the gym. So everybody talks about 10,000 steps, yada yada. What that really is a measure of how well your body has recovered based on your activity. So for example, let's say your baseline steps per day is 7,500. If you do really hard workouts and next thing you know, your baseline steps is 6,000, your body is just compensated and all that work you did in the gym, pretty much gone. So that is one of the things that nobody really talks about is that sure, you're working hard in the gym, but then if your body compensates for it by either A, making you eat more because you're hungry, because you need to refill those calories, or B, you do less work outside of the gym. And that can be various things. It doesn't have to be just walking, but that's a good indicator. It just kind of trickles out. So that's one thing to look at. Yes, you can be working hard and not necessarily getting results. So after you've hit your strength training in the Cosgrove hierarchy, you want to look at your high intensity anaerobic impulses. So those are very opposites of typical WOD Metcon types because they're only 5 to 10 seconds generally. You can sometimes go longer. If you have the Morpheus app, recommend going with the green zones. That's basically what you're looking for, those green zone targets. So I typically do, what I'm doing at thermobaric right now, let's put it that way. I'm doing 5 seconds as hard as possible on an assault bike and 40 to 60 seconds of recovery. So it doesn't sound like much, but if you actually put maximal effort into those 5 seconds and take that 60 seconds recovery, you can actually go again for those 5 seconds really hard. So that's an anaerobic. Most people are not going to get beyond that because they just don't have the time. So if you look at the Cosgrove hierarchy, your first 3 hours should be strength training. And like I said, you can still do it superset, triset, circuits, etc. But have a rest in between exercises. And then you get into your anaerobic circuits. If you still got some juice, you could do some more circuits, but chances are you're just not going to need it and you're not going to have the time. But you can look at that hierarchy and look and see as you get more than 5 hours a week of training, you can start looking at that stuff. But as we all know, nutrition is where it's at. So sometimes training is not relevant. I know for a long time we were like, training's 100% and nutrition's 100%. You gotta do both. The reality is with most of what we're finding nowadays is the vast majority is nutrition. If you want body composition change. Performance, slightly different. You're probably not looking at the cause grow fat loss hierarchy. You're looking at something different because we're talking about performance. It's a whole different ballgame. Similar principles, just slightly different objectives. So you want to get the gains properly without burning yourself out, without doing anything crazy. You're still going to work hard, but comment below Gainz, and I will shoot you a link to the article. Watch you out.